Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Crusader Coaching Podcast. I'm Mauro and
I'm Shiv.
and I'm super excited for today.
Yeah, man.
I think today we've got a pretty good topic that it's pretty universal.
Yeah, relatable. I was just about to say relatable topic for everyone. Today we're talking about failing like a hero, which is kind of a weird thing to say, and it's like a kind of an oxymoron there, but it really isn't. We just want to talk about how everyone fails and how we could turn that around and really better ourselves.
If you really think about it, I think you notice how every single hero on their journey has some sort of obstacle where they fall and they learn and they grow.
Yeah, it's a big part of the Batman Begins. What do they say? They say, Master Wayne, why do we fall? And I was like, so we can always pick ourselves back up. So, I mean, that was kind of the first thing I thought of when we were going into this.
Oh man, yeah, Shiv always has the best analysis. Yeah, that's the whole thing right there. It's just the realization that failing is
not the end.
It's part of life,
yeah.
And it's not the end. It's the beginning, and that's actually the reason why I picked the title "Failing Like a Hero" and rising from the ashes. You know, if I were to ask you, which I'm going to. If I asked you right now, well, what would you say if I asked you, what does failure mean for you? What does it mean to fail?
I think a lot of people would probably say, the end of their road, the end of their journey kind of thing. And, to me, a failure is kind of just a step. It's usually, as we said before, the beginning. It's you can't really get anywhere without failing first, I think, And a lot of people don't really understand that, or a lot of people may understand that, but they're just too scared to fail in the first place. And I think sometimes you have to kind of embrace it and understand that whatever you think is going to happen may not, and it may not be as bad as you think, because you may come back stronger than ever, or accomplish more than you thought was possible than before when you fail.
It always seems like just the idea of failure just stops people from trying at all. Just the idea or the fear of failure is what prevents people from just going forward.
Yeah.
I know for me, it's definitely been something that has held me back at times. I can think about, at least personally for me, I can think about many times where, let's say there was a girl that I wanted to ask out or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the idea of rejection, of her saying no would stop me. It would just stop me right there. I wouldn't even ask. The fear of failure just stopped me.
And I mean, sometimes, the first time you do get rejected, sometimes you realize, well, it wasn't that bad. At least, you know that you were brave enough to even try it in the first place rather than not doing it at all. So that's a really relatable example there. Probably everyone experienced that when they were younger in school. The failure of just trying to ask someone out and just thinking you're going to be super embarrassed after or something, and something it really isn't that bad sometimes if it doesn't go your way.
I remember one of my earliest failures, you could call, is there was this one girl that I really liked in the 3rd grade, and I remember how that feeling of, wow, I'm going to tell this girl that I like her.
Yeah.
Her name was Selena. I'll never forget that. It was 3rd grade. And I remember that I had liked her for a long time. And I waited until the last day of school to tell her.
Yeah, right.
I waited until the last day of school. And it was a couple hours, I think, before school ended. And for whatever reason, I had the opportunity to just ask her, step aside outside of the classroom. And just ask her, like, I like you. And just say it like that. And then I don't think
You didn't really ask her anything.
I didn't really ask her anything. I just
said it.
I just remember being so nervous about that, though. Like, just that idea.
Yeah.
But it felt so good to just get it out there after that. I was like, all that feeling of anxiety was gone just after doing it.
Definitely. Yeah, it's all out of there. Because you experience the big, scary thing. And you realize it wasn't that bad.
It really wasn't that bad.
As you thought it would be. That's a funny one, though.
Fast forward, I got a little bit more daring in middle school. There was another girl that I liked in 7th grade. And I remember, I went all out. for Valentine's Day.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I went all
Yeah.
out. Here's what I did. I remember being so scared, but I remember just doing it anyway. And you know what I did? I compiled a CD with a bunch of romantic songs.
You made a mixtape.
I literally made a mixtape. Yeah, for those of you who have maybe watched Friends or something, you
burned
know.
a little CD.
But yeah,
Was there handwriting on it?
I wrote something in it,
Mauro's
like on the
romantic
cover.
mix or
Oh my
something.
gosh, yeah! I made this CD. I don't even know how this occurred to me. I guess, super romantic as a kid. I still am, I guess. That must have come from somewhere. But I remember I get all the romantic songs. She was Cuban, and my parents are part Hispanic, so I always spoke Spanish. So I got all these like classic, like romantic Hispanic singers that I really liked their music, and I just put it on there and just gave it to her. And I had flowers. I had a little card that I wrote. I had chocolates.
Chocolate heart or?
I don't know. It wasn't a chocolate heart. It was just like a small box of chocolates. And I remember my mom like going with me to like buy this stuff, you know, because obviously in 7th grade, I had no money. So I was like, Mom, and there's this girl there. Like, she's like, okay, like let's go to the store, you know.
Hope it works out.
Yeah.
How did that end up happening?
Oh
And
my
I'm sure,
goodness.
I'm sure before you gave her all this stuff, you were extremely. I mean, you were completely fearing the worst at some points.
Oh,
you know?
I was so nervous. So nervous, and but I just remember just doing it, approaching her with like the nervousness that I had that quickly became excitement because I remember her and I used to have the same class. So I knew when her and I would be walking in the hallway at the same time. So I planned it, like when we would bump into each other. And I remember just looking out for her, and I just said, "Oh, here's all the stuff." And she just took it. She said, "Thank you," and I don't think she liked me back.
Well, she got a lot of like candy and stuff.
She got a lot of stuff out of that.
Wow.
Yeah, she's really pretty, and I remember just being super attracted to her. But she was super sweet about it, very graceful. I was a little chubby kid back then, and but I had a lot of determination, you know, and I got it done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know many kids that have done that. I mean, that takes a lot.
It took a lot. And for me, like I almost regarded that as a failure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
but
looking all out.
Yeah, but you know what? Looking back, honestly, I don't think that was a failure. I think like it felt like one, but in reality, when I really analyzed it, like man, like I did it and I got it done.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that as I fast forward in my life and I get older, I realized that, especially before I got into the coaching mindset that I'm in now, I always feel that the next idea that I have, even though it's something that was just as scary when I was younger, it would actually not happen because I would actually let the fear overtake me.
Yeah. Exactly.
When I started getting into like wanting to grow my business or like, you know, creating a client or having a conversation with someone, like it was funny because as a kid I would do it, but then as I became this young adult, you know, between 18 and like, especially between my ages of like 18, like 23, I remember being so scared of not wanting to like do stuff, you know, and it would actually stop me and then I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But as a 13-year-old, you know, I would do that, you know, with a girl. And then when I was in elementary school, same thing. And I think that's a huge insight because I think children are not afraid of failure.
Yeah.
It's not until that we get older.
I think what puts it, the fear of failure is school, honestly, you know,
Oh my gosh.
you quite literally can fail a class, fail a test, fail a project. And I think that really is what instills that fear for you because, you know, as a child, you like to experiment, you like to just try anything, you know, I always say like a kid would be more well equipped just with no means of anything than an adult sometimes. Like I feel like as a kid, you know, you weren't afraid to go just run right into the woods or something, you know, like it was just,
oh my goodness,
no problem. It was fun, you know, it was fun. But now as you grow older and you learn more, you get so accustomed to thinking that you need certain things or, you know, when certain things are a necessity.
Failure's bad.
Yeah.
You know, failure's bad.
Exactly. I mean, the way in school, I mean, failure is bad. Like the way that's how they show it. There's no silver lining to failure. They threaten you with summer school or, I mean, which I don't even know if that exists, honestly, but I remember summer school was such a huge thing for kids as like as a way to get them to not to fail. And, I mean, I've never once in school have I failed a test and they go, well, this is what you can learn from. They don't teach it that way.
Yeah, most teachers don't. You're right.
They
Like
don't.
most teachers, unfortunately, don't. And I think that's the biggest problem. I think that's where a lot of our conditioning comes from. Is because when you really think about it, we spend so many years in school. I mean, most people, at least make it to high school. Most people, even if you have a high school dropout, like most people, and that's, if you think about it, elementary, at least in the US of A, in the United States, we're talking 5 years of elementary for most states, 3 years of middle school,
yeah.
and then 4 years of high school. So that's 12 years right there of just conditioning that failure is bad. Well, actually, I should say that in elementary school, not so much. Because it's not until usually third grade that they start implementing a grading system.
Yeah, exactly.
Because before that, it's more like satisfactory or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more like S's and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, right? Like a huge flashback.
Yeah, you're really bringing stuff back. Yeah. No, but I mean, it's not really enough though. There's just those few years followed by 8-9 years of.
You fail, you die.
Yeah, passing, failing. Like failing's the end of the world. You have to maybe switch out of the class or something. It's like it's pretty much always bad. And I guess some people would say that's how it needs to be for school. But maybe that's true. But at the same time, it really doesn't prepare you for what failure actually is in life.
Yeah, because that's the thing. School prepares you for becoming an employee at a company. That's what school really does.
Yeah.
It creates a system of accountability. The thing is, though, that even if you become an employee, forget even whether if you're employed, self-employed, if you have your own business, you're an investor. Even at even at the employee level, you're still going to fail. Mm-hmm. You're still going to fail. And the thing is that people get so afraid to fail that they don't apply for maybe the jobs that they really want or the career that they really want because they're afraid they're going to get rejected, because this whole idea of failure has been basically drilled into us from the education system. And not to go too much off on a tangent, but I think that if we really think about that for a moment, I think that's kind of where our fear of failure comes from. It's just that system that we have, unfortunately, that demonizes failure. Mm-hmm. But when you look at all the biggest accomplishments in your life, be them big or small, like, you know what? I think that science is actually one of the only subjects that encourages experimentation.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to fail.
Yeah, especially the failing aspect too. Because like I remember I did science fair a lot as a kid. And I actually won the state science fair. I don't want to brag or anything, but
brag off, man. Celebrate.
They always said, like, if your experiment fails or whatever, I mean, they're like, well, why did it fail? What did you learn from that?
Exactly.
Why didn't you get the certain reaction you want? And, I think that's why a lot of people like science. It's very, it's not a yes or no thing, like pass, fail kind of thing. It's very, it depends on the circumstances. It depends, that's just like real life. Everything depends on the circumstances. Nothing is a black or white thing. And, back to like the school thing, even with how you say school kind of trains you to be an employee, even when people first start working, I know probably our first few jobs were working somewhere very simple, whether you're working at a store or, something like that, like a small structure kind of thing. Even there, I mean, failure is kind of a big deal there too. You're scared to try something new or even try to improve the place because you feel, I might get fired, this, that. It's not until way later in your life where you get a job that you like in a nicer place where, you're allowed to experiment and you're allowed to see what would happen if you failed in a certain aspect. I feel like a lot of kids in high school, they're working at the mall or something. And when you work at the mall, I mean, it's...
You put one shirt wrong and, like, you get scolding,
Yeah, exactly. It's there's no room for anything. There's no room for growing.
There's no room for error.
Yeah, so it takes a while, honestly, till you get somewhere in your life where failure isn't the end of the road, isn't the worst thing in the world, And, it's not like we could completely rehaul society and stuff to change that, but
that's At least that's kind of what I'm out to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I mean,
I think that's a big reason why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
It'll take some time.
It'll take some time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it really, it's, I mean, if you think about it that way, you kind of spend the first 18, 19 years of your life, maybe even more, you know, going into college, stuff like that, thinking that, you know, the failure is the end of your rope. And, you know, it's been a few times where I failed and I realized, okay, well, you know, I never made those mistakes again, you know, because, you know, you learn from them. And I think failure in that sense is like one of the biggest teachers, but you know, in school and stuff, they never really show that aspect.
Because it's actually a huge shame when you really think about it, because even at the college level, like let's say you want to go to medical school, let's say you fail the class, you can retake it, and a couple universities, depending on what they are, they have like a forgiveness program, but oftentimes like your GPA would be really effective.
Exactly.
Even if you, like, let's say if you retake it like 2 or 3 times, they'll still like factor in like the first 2 times into your GPA, which I think is ridiculous. Yeah. Because what message are we sending? We're saying like, oh, well, you improved, but you're still being punished for your process of learning. It's like, why? That. Why are we punishing that?
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, because I understand from the aspect of school, you can't just let everyone go through. You know, you have to, you know, you can't let everyone be on the, you know, I mean, it's for the people that try very hard. You know, imagine you being the valedictorian and then other people barely scraping by. They're getting kind of the same level of GPAs, and that I understand. But,
of course, but if they retake it,
yeah,
right.
Exactly. That's exactly. I don't know that, and that you kind of keep that failure on you, and you may have learned because I definitely failed classes in college, and I had to retake them. You know, and I know exactly why I failed the first time. You know? And you know, after that, I take the class again, and I definitely learned from that experience. And yeah, sure, you have to take college some extra time. It's whatever. It is a setback. We're not saying failure is always great. You know, it is a setback sometimes, but it's a setback that pushes you, you know, even further in that direction after you realize why you failed. And yeah, I mean, it's a big kind of like a culture thing around failure where the schools, they don't want you to forget about it, you know? Like, if you look at your transcript, you know, if
you'll see it.
It's there forever. Like,
yeah, you'll literally see, oh man, the first time I took that, I got an F.
Yeah, and it's like, why? You know, it doesn't need to be there. If you take the class again, yeah, definitely.
I feel like you should, honestly, because in life, that's what life is about. And you had mentioned about how when you fail, you can be pushed forward. That's the idea that John C. Maxwell talks about in his book, Failing Forward.
Yeah.
That's the whole concept is you fail, and every single time you fail, you ask yourself a few very key questions. Number one, well, what did I learn from this? What did I learn from this failure? And how can I adapt that the next time around? Mm-hmm. So when you try the same goal, and you learn the first time you failed, well, how can you learn and grow? And that's a huge process, but it's a great process because if you look at any single person who's made it, and when I say made it, when you look at people who are regarded culturally as being icons of success, or people who have made general or very powerful impacts on our planet, they have probably failed
like
multiple times.
Yeah, definitely.
Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mother Teresa, all those people talk about the times where they felt inferior or they failed or they did things that they weren't proud of and how they had setbacks in their life. But they just never stopped. You know, just regrouped and kept going. They just kept failing forward and just reincorporating what they learned every single time.
Definitely. I mean, I brought up on both podcasts, I brought up sports before, but I feel like, you know, you can learn a lot from some of what these people go through. And, you know, everyone obviously knows, you know, Magic Johnson. I mean, his name is Magic. But, you know, there was a time where people were actually calling him Tragic Johnson in his career. Because he did fail and he didn't live up to the, you know, the standards that he was expected to. But no one even knows that, you know, like
I had no idea.
Yeah, I was watching a documentary and they're like, believe it or not, this is actually what he used to be called, Tragic Johnson.
Wow.
But you don't even think about that because, you know, he's someone that used those failures and now I mean, everyone knows him as Magic, you know, like, so, I mean, you shouldn't really, you know, John C. Maxwell in his book, you know, is very correct to say, you know, you could fail forward. Failing does not always have to push you back. It doesn't have to take you down a few notches. It's always, you know, it's like a wavelength, you know, when you're down, you're bound to go right back up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always that curve, because there's a curve of success. And I think one of my coaches said it best one time to me is, when you have a powerful vision for your life, when you have this idea of exponential growth, there's a lot of failure along the way. And, you know, he painted it for me this way. He said, imagine an exponential curve. And when you think of an exponential curve, on the bottom, it's very flat. And when you're on the bottom part of the curve, when you look behind you, you see nothing. You see flat. When you look in front of you, you see a wall. And that's scary, because when you're on this path and you really want to grow, when you look behind you, you're like, man, like, I've done nothing. I've made it known. And you look in front of you, there's this huge wall. But little do you know that just a little bit beyond, that's when the success really shoots up, because an exponential curve goes up forever. And it's just a matter of staying in the game long enough so that you can make it to that midpoint of the curve, and then before you know it, you're shooting straight up. That's exponential success. That's how success happens. It's the failures that are flat behind you that are going to exponentially lead you and shoot straight up. Yeah. They push you straight up. That's failing forward right there.
And, you know, I mean, what we're trying to say is also, you know, you have to be conscious in wanting to learn from your failures.
Oh,
you know?
yes.
We're not just saying you know, failing, you know, all of a sudden you're going to, you know, everything's going to be great and fine. I mean, obviously we're trying to say it's not the end of the world, but you have to be in the mindset where you want to learn from these failures. So, I mean, you were saying before, when you fail, you have to ask yourself some important questions.
You got to slow down and really reflect.
You have to reflect.
If you just keep failing and doing the same thing over and over again, that's the definition of insanity. It's when you slow down and really reflect, well, what just happened? What can I learn from this? How can I implement this? Who can I speak to? That's another great one. Who can I speak to that can coach me through this, mentor me through this?
Chances are someone has gone through the exact same thing as you. I think my dad, he always said, like, smart people learn from their own mistakes, and geniuses learn from other people's mistakes.
Oh, I like that one.
And so I mean, you're never alone in that sense. Like, whatever you're going through, someone else has already gone through it. Like, you know, unless you find an alien in your closet or something. There's E.T. though, so never mind.
E.T.
You can always watch that movie. But you know, there's
no phone home.
Yeah, there's no really a unique thing. Like, I mean, there's always going to be someone that has felt something similar, and you know, you can always find someone to talk to about it, whether it's in person or online. And you know, you could see, how did they fail? What did they do that I could do differently? And you know, really grow from it.
Yeah. And you've got two people right here who you can talk to about that as well.
Of course.
You know, interesting enough. You know, we've got a workshop for something like this, don't we, Shiv?
Yep, we do.
Yeah. So actually, in a couple of weeks, we've got our workshop on December 10th, and we're going to be doing a live stream, which will be streamed over a private group, which anyone can access from anywhere in the world. And if you're local here in South Florida, we're going to be doing that workshop. And here's the title of the workshop is Failing Like a Hero, Rising from the Ashes. Cool title, no? I came up with that myself.
Yeah, nice one.
Nice one, right?
Like the phoenix, right?
Like the phoenix, just like a phoenix, right? So December 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be doing the live stream as well as the in-person workshop as well.
And we're going to be talking about a lot of the stuff we were discussing right now, really. I mean, talking about our own failures,
Going a lot deeper too.
Going a lot deeper, of course. I mean, it's going to be a little longer, and of course, and if you are there or watching, you could always watch it online. You could always tell us about your failures if that's something you feel comfortable sharing, and you know, we'd always have some great insight as to how you can learn from these things.
And our workshops are designed to be transformational. We don't want them to just be informational. So we always include workbooks. We always include real life application activities and questions and
Something for you to
follow
take
up.
home, yeah.
Always something for you to take with you. And you can actually purchase your live stream tickets or your in-person attendance tickets at www.crusadercoaching.com. And we have an Eventbrite page. It's very easy to just purchase the tickets if you want to.
Yep.
And we actually have all of our past talks are recorded. And definitely feel free. We want to hear from you. Contact us on social media.
Yep.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. Crusader Coaching.
Crusader Coaching, yeah. I mean, our Instagram will have a lot more info about every single event and talk that we're doing coming up. And of course, you can always leave us a comment or send us a message on any of these social medias, and we'll get right back to you.
Yeah.
Answering whatever it is that you need.
And another cool project that we have coming up is we actually recorded a Skillshare class that we'll be doing on Skillshare and on Udemy, as well as on other online platforms. We'll be selling it through our Facebook store. We'll be having it posted there.
Short 3-parter class, little course.
Yes, on resource creation.
Yeah, big thing.
Yeah, resource creation. So we're going to be diving into on how to create in your own life, how to create more time, how to literally buy yourself time, how to create more money, increase your wealth, and how to also increase your energy.
All those three things. I need all three. I'll be tuning in to Skillshare, I guess.
I think, yeah. I think for you, we'll cut you a special deal. Nice, I think since you're involved in the process,
Awesome.
And that's check out our YouTube channel. We're putting more videos on there as well. Crusader Coaching.
Yep.
And we want to hear from you. So feel free to send us any insights that you've had.
Yeah, if there's anything you wanted to talk about on the next podcast, we'd be more than happy to take some topics too.
Any questions as well? We want to answer some questions on our next podcast. If you have any questions about failure or anything else, please shoot them up. We'll answer them live on the air. Excellent. And I think with that, I think we can close off there. No, I think we did a pretty good episode on why failing is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
I think failure is the best thing. Yeah. So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm Mauro.
I'm Shiv.
And we're from Crusader Coaching. And we look forward to having you tune in next time and seeing us live in action.
Yep.
Alrighty, guys.
See you there.
Take care.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Bye.